Hello and welcome to Additive Insight, the original additive manufacturing podcast and your source for news, interviews and comment on the latest 3D printing and AM intelligence, brought to you by TCT Magazine. I'm your host Sam Davis, and today I'm joined by Amnovis CEO Ruben Wauthle. Amnovis is a manufacturing production service that supplies parts to the medical and industrial sectors. Having first established itself in the medical sector, Amnovis last year produced and delivered its 100,000th implant, with the company now increasingly looking to expand its offering to industrial markets. Joining the Additive Insight podcast, Ruben explains the growth of the company over the last 5 years, shares how it has scaled up its manufacturing operations to produce 60,000 implants a year, and provides details on an ongoing R&D effort to print with multiple materials via metal powder bed fusion technology. He also opens up on his vision for the company moving forward. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also head over to tctmagazine.com to subscribe to the TCT membership platform and receive more Additive Insight via our print and digital offerings. Ruben, welcome to the Additive Insight podcast. Last year, Amnovis announced it had shipped its 100,000th additively manufactured implant, which the company felt was a pretty significant milestone. I'm sure everyone listening would agree. Before we kind of get into all of that, can you start by providing some context to that achievement? Can you tell us about the journey Amnovis has been on over the last 5 years since the company was founded?
Yeah. When we started Amnovis, our idea was to make high-end products using additive manufacturing for demanding and regulated industries, such as the medical device industry. And that's exactly where we are today. It's illustrated by that milestone of the 100,000th implant that was shipped at the end of May in 2025, so last year. And in this journey towards that milestone, we have achieved obviously several other milestones. And actually, it's funny, we made a 5-year anniversary card that we sent to our employees, customers, and partners. And on that card, for each year that we have been in business, we already listed like our milestones, and I'll walk you through that. So 2020. We founded the company, we started the company in June 2020, right in the middle of the COVID pandemic. But about 1 year later, in 2021, we actually obtained our ISO 13485 certification in a record time. So in about 1 year after we founded the company, we obtained that ISO 13485 certification, which was critical for the scope of parts we wanted to manufacture, meaning medical devices. But at the same year, in 2021, we also launched our first volume manufacturing projects. So that was also a big milestone that we achieved in that year. Moving to 2022, we added our third printer, which was a first multi-laser LPBBF printer. And that was part of a beta program with the machine manufacturer. And it not only increased our capacity, but it also improved our overall productivity at that time. 2023 was an interesting year because that year was the year where there was the first FDA approval of a customer product. So we didn't get an FDA approval, but one of our customers got an FDA approval of the product that we manufactured. And today, fast forward 2-3 years later, we manufacture both CE marked products and several FDA approved products for customers worldwide. 2025, we reached the milestone of 50,000 implants that were shipped to date with our heat treatment-free titanium printing process. So typically 3D printed titanium implants need to be heat treated to achieve the right microstructure or to remove any residual stresses. And with that proprietary technology that we developed, we can achieve certain mechanical requirements without the need for the heat treatments. And then obviously we come to 2025, where at the end of May, I believe, we hit that major milestone of our 100,000th implant that was shipped.
Okay, so clearly the company has grown quite quickly over those 5 years. When you got together with your co-founders, 5 or more years ago, and founded the company in 2020, what would you say was the motivation? What were you trying to achieve by setting up Amnovis?
Yeah, so there were two main motivators, let's say, to founding Amnovis. And number one is we felt at the time that there was the possibility to create a company that focuses on delivering conforming parts, delivering them on time, and provide good customer service. So that was the main motivation for establishing a contract manufacturing business. And that's also the reason why we started with making these high quality parts. Second reason, and that's also what you see in our name. So Amnovis, if you dissect that, that's AM stands for additive manufacturing. Everything we do is related to 3D printing. And Novus points to the fact that we want to innovate in terms of 3D printing technologies, materials, and applications. So that comes to the second part of the innovation is that what we see if we go to Formnext, we met each other at Formnext in November. If you walk around at Formnext, you see a lot of interesting new 3D printing technologies, materials, applications, but most or some of these are still at an early stage or at a low TRL level or technology readiness level. And we see a lot of potential in some of these, and we want to actually use our previous experience that we've had with titanium LPBBF for the medical device industry, to use that experience to bring those technologies, materials, and applications to higher TRL level or to actually a validated production environment. So basically what we want to do is we want to advance certain technologies, materials, and applications, and bring them to our contract manufacturing environment to make high-end products. And if we look at that initial idea that we had for about 5 to 6 years ago, that's exactly what we do today. We have the 99.9 customer acceptance rate and a 90% on-time delivery rate for 3 consecutive years. So we kept that promise of making high quality parts and delivered them on time. And at the same time, going to the innovation part or the innovation motivation of starting the company, we brought already several innovations to the market. We have that heat treatment-free titanium that I mentioned before, but we also have something we call Supernova, and that's a unique powder modification treatment for highly reflective powders, such as copper alloys. And we are also working on many other innovations in our R&D team, such as deformable implants and even multi-metal printing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to come on to the R&D activity at the company a little later.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to ask, though, I know obviously, as we've established, the company serves the medical sector. The company also serves industrial sectors, and I know there's an interest in exploring additional markets as well. I wanted to ask how you ensure that all of the markets you serve are served effectively, because I think many people running AM service providers and contract manufacturing businesses would maybe advise anyone getting into that business to focus on a specific industry, right? Because of the different requirements, the different volumes. So as you serve multiple different sectors and multiple different needs, how do you manage to make what you do effective for all of your customers across whatever industry they're in?
Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting question. And I go back to our scope as a company. And our scope is to make high-end 3D printed products for demanding and regulated industries. So that's our scope. And that kind of, that's very broad. I agree with your statement that we can, within that scope, we can serve both medical and industrial sectors. But what is interesting about our scope is that we clearly exclude anything that is not meeting the scope. So what does that mean? We're not set up, or we're not the best partner to make quick and dirty prototypes at the lowest possible price or at the shortest possible lead times.
Mhm.
Our focus is really on those end-use products with strict requirements and specifications. And within that scope, to be frank, the actual application or what we make, whether it's medical or industrial, it doesn't really matter. It is every part that we make and ship has to meet our customer specifications or requirements, no matter what. And the whole company structure, the quality management system is set up in such a way that it is actually agnostic to the application, but with the same focus on quality and high-end applications. Um, and that focus comes with a certain overhead. We have a quality management system, we have a quality team, we have certain procedures in place that come with a certain overhead. And that also explains why we're not combining high-end medical products with low-end industrial products. No, we combine high-end medical products with high-end industrial products. And in the end, they both need to meet the specifications and requirements of the customer. So we make only high-end products. That's what makes life easier for us. So we narrow the overall scope of all 3D printed applications into the high-end segments. And every product at Amnovis is treated in the same way. And that's why we're also able to serve both the medical and industrial sectors, actually.
Okay. You mentioned earlier the 99.9% customer acceptance rate and 90% on-time delivery rate that the company has achieved over the last few years. I think 3 consecutive years.
Mhm.
What would you say has been key to achieving that level of service? What have you built into the business and its competency that allows you to hit those figures so early on in the company's lifespan?
Um, it's something we worked on implementing from the very early days when we started Amnovis, and that's what I would call our quality and entrepreneurial ecosystem. So let me explain that. So our quality and entrepreneurial ecosystem is based on a couple of components, let's say, and the first one is actually our company values. One of the most important company values that we have is our commitment to quality. We do not compromise the standards we set no matter what. That's a clear company value that helps us to achieve those KPIs. And we implement it at all levels and aspects of the organization. But in order to do so, we also put state-of-the-art tools and equipment in the hands of our competent employees. And together with our other company values, act with integrity, be proactive, and think solution-oriented, we are able to create a company culture, let's say, that really um, fosters this kind of behavior between our employees, between our partners, and that is really critical in achieving those numbers. Second component that contributes to achieving those numbers is what we call digital process automation. We are proud to be a paperless company. The only paper that is printed here is a delivery note or a PO that goes out. But other than that, we're fully paperless. We do this digital process automation to provide the traceability and repeatability, but also to flexibly scale up the manufacturing of products to comply with customer and regulatory requirements. Thirdly, and I mentioned that before, is we have a quality management system that is certified against ISO 13485, that is specifically for the medical device industry. And yeah, we have a strategic focus on the medical device industry and on high-end quality critical applications. That ISO certification is key. It's a must-have to do business. That's the first check that potential customers ask, like, are you ISO 13485 certified? If not, you're not able to do business with them. And we have built our quality management system in a very robust way that it supports our organizational and operational reliability and efficiency. And then the unique thing about our quality management system is also that we want to introduce innovative or new AM processes to our capabilities. And as we are a contract manufacturer, we don't know what type of applications we will be manufacturing tomorrow for our customers. It was crucial for us to have that quality management system built in a flexible and scalable way, such that it allows us to introduce those new technologies and materials that have been validated by our experienced team. And I think that that's also something that we did slightly differently. You see companies that start doing 3D printing and then they become successful. They get requests from customers that require a certain ISO certification, and then they implement a quality management system and try to make it fit their way of working. No, we kind of reversed that process. And the first thing we did was implement a quality management system that was scalable, that was flexible, and that actually works for us and not against us if we want to scale and introduce new processes. And then the last thing that is really also a key contributor, that is what we call product specifications and inspection criteria that lead to the conforming product. So what we do is we have a thorough understanding of product specifications and process capabilities. We combine it with state-of-the-art metrology and material testing methods to give our customers 100% confidence in every single part that gets shipped. How do we do that? We make very clear black and white agreements on what is acceptable on a part and what is not, and that is key. We don't have a gray area that we ship it like, yeah, maybe the customer will accept it. No, it needs to be very crystal clear what is acceptable and what is not. And all of those four things, the company objectives, the digital process automation, the quality management system that we have implemented, and our focus on product specifications and inspection, all of that combined are the contributors that we can achieve the 99.9 customer acceptance and a 90% on-time delivery.
Okay, that's interesting. In terms of applications, obviously, we know about the implants that that you guys manufacture and have done over 100,000 times at this point. Does your service to the medical sector include other applications beyond implants, or has it been, for the time being, a complete focus on that application area?
We do medical applications outside of the actual implants, absolutely. I'll give you two examples. Noting that actually the implants is the sweet spot, and that's the majority of what we do in the medical business. But we also do instruments. For example, we make titanium trials and sizers that surgeons use before they select the actual size of the final implant that they use. So that's something we do. But we also do surgical guides. It can be both titanium guides or polymer guides. And an interesting example is that we have a partnership with a company, US-based company, Karen Surgical, and we are the exclusive manufacturer of their breast cancer locator for the European markets. And that's a surgical guide or tool that allows the surgeon to remove the tumor tissue with breast cancer more accurately and with significantly reduced chances for additional surgery to remove any remaining tumor tissue. So we do definitely do or manufacture applications outside of the titanium implant scope.
Okay, and on the industrial side, what are the kinds of applications that you're looking to enable or are already enabling in those markets?
Yeah. So in the industrial markets, our scope is really on the high-end applications, as I mentioned before. So we're looking for applications that have strict requirements or specifications, or where we can provide a lot of added value with our technologies or know-how. We are more advanced in our medical division, let's say, and but we're also tapping into the industrial markets. Think in terms of applications about semicon industry, space and aerospace, certain food reactors, and so on. And we have something unique in our industrial department, and that's our copper printing capabilities. And I think I mentioned it before, we have our Supernova, that's a patented powder modification treatment. And that is a unique treatment that increases the laser absorptivity of highly reflective copper powders such as copper. And the main benefits there is that it allows us to print copper components with a standard printer, with a standard infrared laser. We don't need a high power laser. We don't need a green or a blue laser to produce these parts. We can achieve the same productivity as these more expensive lasers. But on top of that, the melting process is much more stable because of the surface modification that we apply. And it allows us to print finer features, and the shelf life of the powder is not affected by any oxygen pickup compared to powders that are not treated by our unique and proprietary technology. So that's something we're also very active in that kind of business. So that's copper, that's only industrial. And then on the industrial side, we see that we're also working on several R&D projects that are industry-focused and non-healthcare. For example, we are a part of the REPAM consortium. That's a Horizon 2020 project funded by the European Commission, in which we are further developing our powder modification treatments for highly reflective powders and even pure copper. And then we also have a project with ESA, the European Space Agency, on multi-metal printing applications.
Okay, interesting. Obviously, the company, as we'll get into in a moment, puts a big focus on R&D and new innovations. But to achieve the volumes that you've achieved with additively manufactured implants, I think you mentioned earlier, 50,000 implants were produced last year alone, and 100,000 in the 5 years. So that means that last year you manufactured 50% of your total output ever, which would suggest a pretty significant scale up. So can you tell us about the work that's gone into increasing that manufacturing capacity, and enabling those kind of numbers over the last few years? How is that accelerating, and how are you enabling that acceleration?
Yeah, so when we did the press release on the milestone of the 100,000 implants shipped, we expected at that time, I think it was around September that we did the press release, we expected to ship around or more than 50,000 implants in 2025. And before this podcast, I checked the actual numbers, and we actually shipped more than 64,000 parts in 2025, of which the majority are implants.
Mhm.
And it's really an interesting question because it's scaling up quite significantly. And to be open and honest, it comes with its own challenges, right? It requires constant work, reflection, focus on what we're doing, why we're doing it, the way we're doing it, and to see if something is stretching certain things, that we rethink it or define a system that it allows us to further scale. But it is always with the focus to continue to deliver the same quality, on-time delivery, and customer service. And what really has helped us, not only last year, but throughout all the years that we've been in business with Amnovis, that's that quality and entrepreneurial ecosystem that I mentioned and explained before, to navigate those challenges that we've seen. I always say it's never easy, because if it was easy, more companies would do what we do. But the fact that we wrote down on a piece of paper that quality and entrepreneurial ecosystem, that has really been our guidance through our startup phase, and it is currently also our guidance while we are significantly scaling up our business.
Great. In terms of the R&D that's ongoing at the business, I'm sure there are more than just a couple of things that you've got going on, but a couple of things that I at least know about or that you've mentioned on this podcast so far. We'll start with the pure titanium that meets ASTM standards without requiring heat treatment. Can you tell us as much as you're able about what you've developed there and how that works?
Yeah. Before I explain more about what we developed, I'll take you back to 2015. So to explain that we are huge fans and strong believers of pure titanium, so not the titanium alloy. I mean, we obviously love the titanium alloy, but we're also strong believers of the potential of pure titanium. And why I want to take you back to 2015 is that was the time when I was kind of finished my PhD at the University of Leuven. And in 2015, I had a scientific article published with the title "Revival of Pure Titanium for Dynamically Loaded Implant Applications." So our belief in that pure titanium goes way back, even before we started Amnovis. And when we then started Amnovis in 2020, we wanted to do something with this material because we believe in the material, and we found that it was not used to its fullest potential. So that's when we started a project internally with our R&D team and our operations team, started doing process optimizations for the pure titanium material. And throughout that development process, we were able to master the process in such a way that we did not need to perform heat treatment to achieve the right mechanical properties. So straight out of the printer, if you test it, it meets certain ASTM requirements in terms of strength, but also in chemical composition. And then from that point on, we took it even a step further. Like, okay, if you show that this is possible, we also want to offer it for our medical customers, and medical customers require a thorough process validation. So we took it a step further, and we validated that process with over 500 tensile specimens that we tested for the initial qualification. And we keep on doing qualifications if we add printers or if we do regular monitoring of our process. And today, we're many 10,000 parts later that we manufactured, shipped, and that are also implanted since then. So it's really a proven technology that started even before we started Amnovis as an ID, but that we really took to a higher level and took it to a validated state. And the fact that you don't need to perform a heat treatment has several benefits in our opinion. Obviously, you reduce the lead time as you can skip an entire process step. You also eliminate that's more a medical term, a special process, because heat treatment is considered a special process. You fundamentally change the microstructure of the part, so that is considered a special and also a risky process. And the last benefit is obviously you reduce the costs. If you don't need to do a heat treatment, there's no cost associated with that step. And we see that our customers also appreciate those benefits because our customers have adopted that technology of the heat treatment-free titanium across multiple applications in spine, CMF, ortho, and they really benefit from the advantages that I just mentioned.
Okay, great. Another piece of R&D that is currently ongoing, I understand, and you were showing me during our brief meeting at Formnext, is this capacity to print 2 or more materials at once via laser powder bed fusion. I appreciate that is not quite as ready and applicable as the pure titanium capability, but can you tell us what you've achieved so far and what you've demonstrated so far with the kind of multi-material powder bed fusion capability, and I guess what you see as the commercial opportunities of that capability in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I'll also take you back in time. We started working on this technology indirectly already in 2020, just after we started the company. We started working together with the company Aerosynth, that's now part of Schaeffler Special Machinery. And they had developed a unique powder deposition system that allows to selectively deposit 2 or 3 materials across a build platform. And our first project together was used that same deposition technology, but not in combination with laser powder bed fusion. And the goal was to make 3D printed titanium parts without the need for a laser or a binder. Without going into the details of that project, the result was we managed to make components that met the ASTM standards for the titanium alloy in terms of strength, which is a big achievement. And at that time, we realized that there was a big potential in that technology. So we continued the conversation and the collaboration with Aerosynth. We invested in the technology. So we purchased a selective powder deposition system from Aerosynth. That was, I think it was 2023, early 2023. And we installed it into one of our laser powder bed fusion systems. Many builds, many failed builds, many DOAs later, we have been able to advance the TRL level of several material combinations where we use the selective deposition technology of Aerosynth and use a standard LPBBF machine to fuse the materials. And today, we are pretty advanced with certain material combinations. Certain material combinations have shown to be very challenging, and that's why we're still doing R&D on that. But to give you some insights, and that's what I showed you also at Formnext, is we have been able to make functional parts in the material combination of pure titanium with the titanium alloy, so titanium, aluminum, vanadium. We can make functional parts. They look the same as monomaterial implants, but they actually, the design is different because we have selectively positioned pure titanium in certain locations and the titanium alloy in the other locations. And we've not only been able to just make fancy demonstrators, but we have been able to validate the technology already in terms of mechanical performance. We printed several tensile coupons where the interface of the two materials was right in the middle of the tensile coupons. And we have been able to achieve mechanical properties that were at least as strong as the weakest material of the two, being the pure titanium. And that's a big deal as well. If you think about it, we were concerned about the interface and the strength of the interface. And ideally, you end up with an interface that is as strong as the weakest material. But we are already there with that material combination. And we have several other material combinations that are in the pipeline that we're working on. It all starts with, as I mentioned, failed builds and small coupons and looking at certain strategies for printing it or deposition strategies. And we also experienced that the fastest path or the easiest path to actual application is to focus on the easy material combinations. Easy material combinations are materials that on a metallurgical level bond very well. If you have materials that form intermetallics, you have cracks, defects at the interface. There are ways to overcome it, but that requires a lot more development. So that's why we're focusing on two things. One, metallurgical combinations that match and bond very well, like the titanium alloy combination that I mentioned. And at the same time, we're also developing the more challenging material combinations. And in terms of commercial opportunities for this technology, I mean, we believe in this technology in the sense that the potential is huge. It's also interesting to quantify or qualify that opportunity because it's actually opens up a whole new set of possibilities that are not possible before and are not available for application developers. Typically, when you're designing a product or a component in metal, you have to often make a compromise in terms of material selection, assemble parts of two different materials or coat parts. And that's a different game. You have to design your products in a different way. But with multi-metal printing, it opens up a whole lot more opportunities and possibilities. And our role in that is to show what is possible with the technology, and with what material combinations we can achieve that, and then to partner with the OEMs to bring actual applications to the market, right? So our ambition is to further develop the process of multi-metal printing and then work with our customers so that they can optimize their applications. Because we're not application developers, we're process developers, and that's why we see it going hand in hand, working on an application with a customer while we in parallel further develop the process.
Thank you for taking us into so much detail around that, Ruben. And thank you for your time today. My final question, obviously the company has established itself as a trusted supplier of additively manufactured implants at scale. There's obviously some R&D work ongoing. What is your vision for the company from here?
I think we have proven that there's a place for a company like Amnovis with a pure focus on making 3D printed components in combination with our innovations on 3D printed technologies, materials, and applications. I think we've proven that. And our vision from here is to continue to grow the company in a sustainable and profitable way, while we keep on doing what we're good at. And that's two things. We make conforming parts that meet customer specifications and deliver them on time with excellent customer service. And number two is we advance the technology readiness level of promising and new 3D printing technologies, materials, and applications in order to bring them to our validated production environment and to redefine the state of the art in additive manufacturing.